Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shit Isn't a Dirty Word with the lovable and tenacious and the amazing Karin Namani. Hi, Karin.
Hi, Larry. What's up? Happy
Oh,
Monday.
I know, I know. It's a Monday, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
It is. It is a Monday. It's well, happy Monday, sad Monday, a
It's a
Memorial
Monday.
Monday. It's
Yeah,
all. It's
yeah.
everything.
That is true. It's September the 11th. So
Yeah,
it is a
I know.
very, very,
it's a it's
it's
bittersweet. My
heavy.
son's birthday today, so
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good and it's very powerful and it's very sad and it's a day of remembrance. It's all over the place. I think
yeah,
in a good way.
It's yeah. It's something to remind us all that we have a short memory of things.
that's true.
Boy, boy, oh boy. That's it. That's it. That's it. We can't even remember what we did a week ago, much less 22 years ago.
I cannot believe it's been
Yeah.
22
Yeah.
years. So, Laurie, surprise me. Who is
Yeah.
our guest today?
Yes, yes, everybody want to welcome. So, Beverly,
Yes.
you and Kareen are amazing in together and separately because and I can't wait to be a fly on the wall. Um uh because Beverly, correct me if I'm wrong, you're
hmm
a colon hydrotherapist as well.
Yes.
You're a naturopath?
No,
No.
no, I'm not a naturopath. I do body-centered psychotherapy, and I'm also a soul-centered hypnotist.
Wow.
And I work with nutrition and, for years and
Wow.
years and years. So
Wow.
I'm really eclectic in that way because I really want to include the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit because we're all one. We're all one. And
Yes.
we've,
May I say something? Welcome to my show, Beverly. Finally, I meet someone kind of like me.
I know, I was like, wait a minute. This is a younger
It's like
version.
looking at the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been around for a
So,
while.
Beverly, I know you've been around for a long time, and I'm so honored, after hearing for in the past 24 years, I'm always hearing like, no, no, not good.
Mm,
What are you doing? It's not healthy. The doctors say that. The doctor, and finally, after 24 years, I'm proudly saying I'm a colon hydrotherapist. I'm a
yes.
massage teacher. I'm a
Yeah.
mother of four. I'm a naturopathic doctor. And I'm doing it with so much passion and love
Yes.
that it's amazed me how every hour of the day I'm helping someone that will spread the word,
Yes.
and how many rejection there is on the other hand. And I'm saying like, okay, we have to balance it. And I'm so happy that people are actually open to hear
Much
what we
more.
have to say.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, we're dinosaurs. 24 years ago, only hillbillies. I'm from LA, hillbillies,
Uh,
And if I wanted to say 5 years ago that it's starting, people are actually talking colonics, and then I wrote the book, and people raise another eyebrow about like, what do you say? And I'm like, and then I start to speak out. I have a lot of events that I speak out a lot about colonics, about why it's so important.
yes.
So let me take you to the audience. So you're not gonna think I'm the only crazy one. Beverly, why it's so important
Yeah.
to clean our body, especially
Absolutely.
now, beginning of the year, after the summer, all the holidays, Jewish holidays are coming up.
Yes.
Why
Very.
it's so important, not just physically, you mentioned the emotional, the
Right.
spiritual, because it's all one, it's one body.
Yes. And it depends where you want to start. in terms of, do you want to start from a spiritual perspective or an emotional or a physical? But until you clean out your
I
body.
want you to take us I want you to take us to your journey, to your point of view of, from your side.
Yes.
Because you're also a teacher, you're in the board of IACT and everything.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you are also working from the other hand to promote the importance of the gut health. You know what? Leave colonics on the side.
Yes.
Gut health.
Yes.
So important these days.
Yes.
So enlighten us.
I will do my best.
I know you will.
Yes. The understanding of the accumulation that happens over time, especially with the way our environment is today, especially today, with the kind of air we breathe, the soil, the nutrients that we have available to us are not the same as they were even 50 years ago. We're very depleted. And we're also being bombarded by processed foods and chemicals, additives. All of that is doing something to our body. And we have to really take a look at this in terms of just look around and we see how many people are not, I don't feel good, I'm tired, I don't have any energy, just from that to severe illness. And from my own journey, which I was 20 years old when I got my first colonic. And I didn't even know that's what I was getting. I had no idea. I'd never heard of it.
I believe you.
And I went to this woman just on trust and faith that someone's got to be able to help me, because I'd been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that they said I wouldn't recover from at that time. I understand a whole lot more now, but that was back in 1979.
Makes
and
sense.
So the doctor that I went to was 92 when I met him in New York City, up in the tower on 42nd Street. And he said to me, I don't care what you've got. The one thing that you need to do before you do anything else is clean out your system and come off of every food that you can think of. So he literally put me on vegetables and fruit and juicing. And that lasted a couple of years. And every week I went for colonics, heat treatments, massage. He did everything but the colonics. And my symptoms started to go away.
Now, may I ask you for our audience, because this is a question that's been around all the time. What is a good amount of colonics or cleanses to maintain health? First of all, to do the good cleans and then maintain health, like in a good way. That
it's everyone is an individual.
True.
It's really, I always say, let's just do the first one and see what's going on in there. And then we can make a decision. But at this point in time, it's really about not just the colonics, but what are you going to do to support that in terms of taking care of yourself? So I want to empower the client to have the ability to be able to say to themselves, I'm going to take care of myself too, with your support. So it's a journey we both go on together.
True. And another thing, when I do talk about it with all my podcasts, how important it is to detox our body, at least once a year, once in a lifetime. I'm saying, like, let's start with the first one, as you said.
Well, yes. Yes, if they're only going to do that, then you've touched them in some way in terms of giving them, planting a seed. But I think with today's environment, to do a couple of cleanses a year would be really great. And it depends on the person.
So it will be true to say, because this is what I tell my clients, going to be true to say that between 3 to 6 sessions to start off a good cleanse. After that, it maintenance, and of course, it depends on what comes out of it. It depends if you're constipated, if it's chronic. It depends on so many levels, but this is individual talking. Now,
Well, yeah.
how many times people came to you and told you, Beverly, I'm suffering from, constipation. I didn't go for a day, but I usually go every day. Like I don't have a problem.
Yes.
I have just a little bit of bloating.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to release emotionally.
Right.
And they look at you surprised, like, oh my
Yes.
God, that's
Yes.
what came out? What do you tell people like that? Why it's so important?
Well, because, the first, second, and third chakra area in the whole gut area has to do with your power, your, how you live your life, basically. So when you start to give someone a very gentle colonic, that opens up a whole world that they've kept really close to themselves in terms of the connection to what we would call constipation, the holding on, the inability to really allow themselves to open up. So what the colonic does too, and it may not happen right away, but it might happen a little further down the road, is start to stir things up because you're really stirring the pot on many levels. So it's really taking, for me, I always have done a questionnaire, an in-depth questionnaire, but I have them fill it out in front of me because that's part of their consultation, because I can see most of the things that they write down on the questionnaire isn't on the questionnaire. And it also is like, it's like, well, they're putting something in there, but I want to know what they're really like. So for me, it's very important that I spend time with them, and also that they're going to, well, they're like, how do I trust this person? How do I feel safe with this person? So for me, sitting with them initially is very important because you're building rapport.
So what is your, I know I'm talking about it all the time, and it's like hearing myself when I talking to you, which is amazing, by the way, yeah. Because from hearing so many no, it's like someone that actually swim with me and align with me in so many ways, and I'm so happy. I feel like ambassador in a way for gut health.
Yes.
For the importance of the gut health, because that's what pretty much made me write my first book, because client came to me and told me, Karin, if this one didn't tell me about you, there is no information. They say colonics is good. Not, you always have the good and the bad and the bacteria.
Yeah. Well, and there's usually more of one than the other. So it is, that's the whole gut brain connection where, we're suffering terribly on both sides.
Today we call the gut this is our first brain, because that's what control our body. I mean, let's face it. And today more and more doctors are aware. I must say that they're more aware to the importance of the gut health. So yes, as ambassadors, I still want to hear more of why and how and where, because as I mentioned before, you're part of IACT, which is the biggest organization for colon hydrotherapy. Yeah. But still, I never heard from IACT anything about it. I really didn't.
In terms of what specifically?
In terms of promote colonics instead of promote gut health.
Well, because we have to be very careful. We have to be careful in terms of not diagnosing or treating anything in particular. So what we're doing is we have a new president coming on whose main focus is research of the gut microbiome from outside sources. That will be
I'm so
that is
happy.
going to be the major focus, because we know that the gut bacteria and whatever is going on in the body, that's the central core focus.
True.
But you need to have, for colon hydrotherapy in particular, evidence-based science. And the only doctor that has written a book about a definitive guide to colon hydrotherapy is Dr. Stephen Holt.
I know. And after him, it was me.
So there you go. Right? So now you're saying, and I love what you're saying in terms of the line to your book, what it's called. Yes. I love it.
Is shit is in a dirty word.
I love that.
I can't even tell you how many glass walls I have to break because of this title. And there is really nothing offending. You know, there is really nothing. And if you read the book, it says unorthodox way to introduce colon hydrotherapy and gut health in general. Nothing really bad.
Right.
But I want to break the taboo around. And I would love you to come on board. And I would love Ayak to be on board with me to break the taboo about how we talk about, you know, I'm a little rude, so I'm talking shit. But in general, I want to break the taboo and say, it's okay that I'm constipated. Okay, let's see what I can do about it. Not just colonics, but I want that people going to start to actually talk about gut health as a regular conversation.
Yes, but that's part of the constipation, is no one is willing to come forward and talk about it.
That's
why you have me.
That's what I was going to ask is what is the big deal about talking about poop? I get it. But you know what? Everybody talks. Oh, I'm a guy, so I gotta be careful.
Shit.
But there's other things that women will talk about, guys will talk about.
Yes.
But when they're together, it's like nobody wants to talk about the real issues that are bothering, that they're going through. Because and I know this. I've seen it when Karin goes to go to these conferences and when she does talks, everybody goes around to booths. They go, oh, this is great. They come to Karin's booth. They see that she has a book about colonics. They see that she has, you know, vitamins and supplements for gut health. And then the first question is, hey, so how's everything going? Hey, I'm doing good. I poop 3 or 4 times a day. And just seeing your reaction and knowing Karin's reaction, it's a little bit, it's not funny. It's a little bit sad because I think there's a lot of stuff that goes in.
Of course.
True. And then you know, Beverly, and then they come to hear me talking about it. And you can see 100 people sitting there.
Yes.
And those are the same faces I've seen a couple of minutes before that told me that everything is amazing.
Of course. But if you have to think about it, look how many billions and billions of dollars of money every year that is spent on laxatives, Prilosec, all sorts of gut acids. People are not talking about it, but they're suffering from it.
I know.
So it's time. This is the time. Is
to
now.
Make the change.
Yes, to talk about it in a real way where it's not, but then when you talk about the glass ceiling or the glass door that needs to be shattered, and it's like a portal that you need to move through to get to the other side, is because people have been so ingrained, even from, let's be honest, from What kind of potty training did they have?
Oh,
You know,
I know. I'm talking about it. That's
right.
exactly what I'm breaking every day of my life. Larry knows me for a couple of years.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm willing to go in the front of every door. Every time they tell me no, I'm coming from the front or the back, it doesn't matter. But
Yes.
I'm there.
Yeah.
And people do listen. I must say that when you start to talk shit, people start to listen to you. Why? Because they are related. Now, the thing is that, and Larry, we talked about it many times.
Yeah.
20 years ago, people were afraid to talk about cancer. I
Right.
mean, when I'm saying that, it sounds crazy as hell, but
No, but when
people
I grew
didn't
up,
talk about it.
where I grew up in Scotland, you could people said this, it's the C word. They wouldn't even say the word.
Mm-hmm.
But then you couldn't say pregnant either. You had
I
to,
know.
and so everything was taboo. So we have
And
moved
nowadays,
along the timeline. So
so
what
now
you're
it's our
saying,
time.
yes.
Now it's our
Yes.
time to break the taboo. So it makes both of us. That's exactly what, and I'm willing
Yeah.
to come to talk about it, to talk from my experience. If there is
Yes.
any, I always say, give me the place, I'll be there. I'll talk about it, and I'll make sure people will hear me, not
That's
just see me,
beautiful.
hear me, and actually take some action.
Yes.
Now, let's get the audience some tips for a good detox. Let's say they're not going to do colon hydrotherapy because they can't have any reason.
Right.
What
Well, there
tips
are
can you actually give?
contraindications, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Very,
What
yeah.
what tips can you give the average Joe that really wants to keep some good health
Yes.
and with whatever we have here, whatever
Yeah.
he has?
Well, I look at it from, it's like
A
we
big
can draw
puzzle.
a map,
Yeah,
we can draw a circle and we can say,
yeah.
okay, in this part of the circle, we have this, we
Right.
have your emotions, we have your spirit, we have, your physical body. Where would you like to begin?
Right.
And usually it's around food
Mm.
True.
and
Because that's the
how,
beginning of the core.
yes, because unless you change that, it's not going to make that much of a difference because vibrationally, if you're eating very dense food, it's going to be very dense in your body. So the lighter you go in terms of thinking green, not only is it a heart connection, but it's also, we have plants everywhere. And if we could look at
Change
kale
food.
and
What's
spinach,
the next?
let's do green juice, green shakes, just add one thing. And I would suggest that they start with that and not change other things because they're going to start to see, oh, these, I feel a little bit better because nobody's eating enough live enzymes. They're eating, most of the food is cooked. And
Yeah,
we're not getting enough
that's
nutrients.
why we give digestive enzymes.
There you go.
So it's
Right.
so it's gonna be right to say that first of all, we want to change our diet, to change our
Yes.
food.
Yes.
I would even suggest to have a journal of at least 1 week to
Yes.
see what we're eating, like as terms of sugar, as
Yes.
terms of meat, protein.
Well, you start to see the balance of what are you eating mostly of and what do you really need to support you in taking a shift out of that area. But people also, they really need the support. So what we are really too, Karin, is that kind of coach to say, you can do
True.
this, and if you want to feel your potential in life, what's stopping you? And from that place, you can start to see with people what is really
growth.
happening here. Yes. Why are you going to choose that over something that really is really going to make you feel fantastic? There's something there. There's something really there. And so you have to address that part. Right.
So audience, ask yourself 3 times the same question. What stopped you from changing from one place to the other, from one thing to the other? And the other question you need to ask yourself is, what are you willing to do to make that change?
Absolutely. Because we can't do it all for the client, right? We need to have them engage.
Yeah, there is so much.
We want to make them feel powerful and that they can do it.
And as far the detox, as far as actual cleanse,
I really would, you know, besides juicing and shakes, because most people need the fiber these days, not just the juice.
Right.
It's very high in the sugar content, is really what makes the difference. Huge difference.
So let me ask you that, Beverly. So it's going to be right to say, because that's what I suggest to my client. And that's, again, personal. This is not something that is written anywhere. When they juice, as you mentioned before, we need our fibers. So I like the blending. I like to blend the vegetable instead of just juicing it and losing all the fibers. So that is something that is right to say. So I'm not alone there.
Not alone at all. I tell people to get a Vitamix that they can have forever, and they will, if they do shakes, it's going to stir everything up and it's going to help things move along with the colonics. You know, doing both.
Yeah.
So you're helping stimulate whatever's sitting in there. You know, you have 5 feet of large intestine.
I know. It's a big shithole. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Just think about it. And
I'm telling you,
it looks like when we were born. Unfortunately, it looks very different. So to move that out can take some time.
Yeah. And how other things that we can do as far as cleanse, detox? Do you suggest like what's your thought about colon cleansers, magnesium, enemas?
Yeah, well, anything to help the body get started. But if you go to 0, which you have to, that's a whole other conversation in terms of water fast, because that's what's going to bring your body back to life in terms of, especially if you're using structured water, which again is another conversation. But if you're using water, which we're 70% water, the planet is 70% water. The water has memory. So if you are trying to make a shift in somebody, allowing them to use the water, which is all Emoto's work, Masaru Emoto said this, that what you say to yourself is so important because the water has memory and it's going through your entire system. So even if someone does a 24-hour or a 48 water fast, it can make a huge difference. So with monitoring, because I don't do that until they've done everything else.
True. I would never let anyone. And this is something I want you to tell our audience, because everybody loves Google. You know, I'm sick and tired that people are going like, oh, I'm on juice cleanse. Oh, I'm on this cleanse.
Yes.
Oh, I'm on lemon water. Oh, I'm not eating for 24 days. And it's very dangerous.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Very dangerous. People just don't understand. You know,
people writing the books don't understand that if they're telling people to go and do this cleanse, they should be telling them to go have colonics so that they move the waste that they're detoxing out of their body. Otherwise, they're reabsorbing it back through the liver and they're worse off than when they started. So it doesn't make sense. And that's why we need to educate the people.
So for all our audience, please do not do cleanses just by yourself. Go see a professional, because
Absolutely.
you don't really clean yourself. You lose water, but you don't really clean yourself. And this is the false reaction.
Yes.
Someone is on fast for 5 days and they're losing weight. They think like, oh, I'm clean. I'm like,
It's
no,
water.
you're definitely not clean. Come for colonics. Yeah, that's what happened. They come to colonics and then they're like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, you're full of shit.
Just lost water.
So what I'm saying, Beverly, that it's going to be right to say that we want to start juice fast or any type of good cleanse with colonics.
Yes. That's what makes the most sense. People, some people are okay, but then other people can get really, really sick.
So people, don't clean yourself from Google. It doesn't work.
Right. Right. Google is not the place to go. Absolutely.
And nowadays when you watch like TikTok and Instagram, social media, that's where I'm getting to be more aware of how everybody thinks that they're an expert when they're really not. And
Right.
that's the dangerous part. Whether
That's
it's
true.
colonics, whether it's financial, whether it's fill in the blank, these people, seems to me, just give only half truths because they don't really have to explain themselves, I think, in the way that a more, I'd say educated person, but a well educated and more knowledgeable person knows how to do those things and
Yes.
why.
Yes. And that's part of what part of being part of IACT is to really help articulate what's going on out there in the world.
So Beverly, before we're going to wrap everything, I really want to give something good for the audience, like how to choose your own hydrotherapy, or what is the things that we want to look at. And if you have amazing tip for, a good health, good, something they can do on their own.
Yes.
Enlighten us.
Something that they can do on their own? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Even a work, like, just for, as we mentioned before, energetically,
Yes.
physically, something to start your day off good.
Yes. Is to really, we can focus on breathing or doing a little bit of meditation, but then making yourself that's really plant-based in terms of, I would recommend a shake. And you don't need to add almond milk or anything. Water, ice, greens, and maybe a Granny Smith apple in there to sweeten it up a little bit. And
sounds great.
Just to really start, because the whole day depends on how you start the day, mostly, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving yourself something, you're being kind to yourself. You're taking care of yourself. It's all about self-care. Instead of running off and outside of ourselves, that we can really spend a little bit of time just saying, what do I need? And how do I take care of myself? That to me is really important, is that we are including ourselves rather than everything out there is more important. Come back to here. And if you take care of yourself, the whole world can change.
You say it so nicely, and I love it. And I'm going to give you a line that you can always use it. My client love it. We need to treat our body, as a car, a nice car, because we do take our car every 3 months for tune-up.
Absolutely.
Tune up in this body once a year or once in a lifetime, just to have everything flash in, take the nutrients. It feels good. It shows outside, I wish, and Larry heard me saying that many times, I wish I could run a big colonics through the nation.
Yeah.
when people
Yeah.
will be less compacted, less stressed, smile a little bit more because it shows, when you're inside, it shows more.
And
Yes.
I think people right now, since we've come through this pandemic, have never been more stressed and more feeling more about the
Yeah.
unknown. And so many people are struggling with long COVID and lots of symptoms they never had in their life. So, we have a lot to dig deep with in terms of what we do. And I think, being that kind of support person and really trying to help them figure it out. And we need a team to do that. We need to build that. And what you're saying is, why don't the doctors help us? We need to help them understand that they can help us. And I would say that's part of the mission, is to really integrate medicine with what we do.
Wow. Wow. Beverly, I think Karin and you, this conversation really isn't over, and I really feel that it's just beginning because it's like you said, and Karin always says, there's always a different aspect to why people are going through everything, because they hold on to stuff, they can't let it go,
Right.
and it's just one of those things, and I think and I know that we would love to continue this conversation with you anytime,
I would
anytime,
love to. I really
anytime.
appreciate both of you and the work that
Thank,
you're doing to put it out in the world. And
thank
that for
you.
me, when I first started out in the early 80s, nobody talked about it.
You and Karin are really two peas in a pod, and just want to thank you again for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and yourself.
Beverly, thank you so, so much for being on my show. You are amazing woman. It's like looking in the mirror. I'm so happy that you share exactly what I'm trying to bring to the table.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to work with you and with IACT for a long time and to bring that matter to the front. It needs to be heard.
I hear
Shit
you.
isn't a dirty word. Gut health is very important, and you know what, it takes one to make a change, so let's make that change happen. I want people to start to talk about their gut health, to talk about that it's okay to not feel good, and let's educate people what they can do. And please let us do it like only we can do it, with passion, with love. And let's not forget that everything start and end in our colon.
That's for sure. Blessings, love, and light to both of you. We'll continue.
Amen to that. Larry, you can take us out.
All right. Just want to again thank Beverly for your time and all the great knowledge and information that you've given us and our audience. All the links will be in the description, and we really, really certainly look forward to having you back on the show. And just want to wrap up, especially today, Monday, September the 11th.
Yeah.
Everybody, be kind to each other, love each other, be kind to yourself, and always, always do your best every day. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.